My name's Coach Gary Yerby. I want to first thank you very much for volunteering to help at the Morton Youth Wrestling Tournament. This year it'll be 2023. We might use this video next year, so if that's the case, just insert new year. I would like to explain to volunteers about how to do bracketing. Okay, so we got a folder which has a bracket inside of it, and we have I'm going to use this as an example, the T02 bracket. Now, you know, T02 stands for tot, and we'll have brackets for each tot weight class until, you know, we run out of wrestlers. So it might go up to, you know, T12 or something like that. It'll be T01, T02, T03, on up to the last bracket. And then we have bantam brackets, B01, B02, on up to the last bracket. Intermediate, 01 to the last bracket, novice, and senior. So we'll have a lot of paper that'll come out of the printer. All that paper needs to be sorted and put into the correct folder. These folders will be sent out to the score tables, and then the score tables will be set for the day to run the tournament. So it's important that we get the paper in the right place, and we're explaining this today to, you know, make sure that everybody knows how to sort the paper, and we can work together and get the large amount of paper sorted quickly and get the tournament started, right? This is bracketing is the high pressure moment of the day, because we got to get this paper into folders and out to tables and get wrestling started. So I'm going to use T02 as an example. I'm not using T01 because it was a two-man bracket, so it's not as good an example. You know, we could have some three-man brackets, but we try to make four-man brackets because then every wrestler gets 3 matches, and that works out best, you know, for the wrestler and for the tournament. So T02 is my example. So when it comes out of the printer, you'll have a bunch of brackets. The brackets look like this. And you can see that the bracket has T02 on it. It has the weight range and which mat this bracket will be wrestling on. So we want to make sure that we get all the bout sheets that are affiliated with this into the same folder. So in this folder, we have bout sheets. This is a 4-man bracket, so we'll have 6 bout sheets that look like this. You can see in the top there that it has the same title as what the bracket said, T02, and the same weight range. You can also see the bout ID is number 1. So this should be the first bout that's wrestled. And then we go, you know, we'll also have ID number 2, and this will be the second match that's wrestled. And then we'll have ID number 3. Let me see if I can point to it. Things are looking backwards, but right here is ID number 3. See that 3? And it also, this one says round 2. So, and then we have 4, 5, and 6. Okay? So let me go back to bout sheet number 1. So these should be put in order behind the bracket, and they'll then wrestle. You can see round 1 is listed on this side. The top one would be ID 1. The second one's ID 2. Round 2, ID 3, ID 4. And round 3, ID 5, ID 6. Every bracket is going to be like that. So the bout sheet should be in order behind the bracket. The bracketing, I would like to say that, you know, you're going to get a stack of paper. I'm going to print brackets first, and I'll probably go by mat, starting with mat 8. We have mats 1 through 8. Mat 8's got a lot of matches on that mat, so I'd like to get that one wrestling first. So I'm going to print mat 8 brackets. There will be 2 copies of this. One goes in the folder. The other one, somebody's got to go post in the hallway so that our wrestlers can go look at the brackets and figure out where they're wrestling. And then I'll print the bout sheets, all the mat 8 bout sheets. So these bout sheets will come out as one big stack of paper. It's going to be thick. and they are sorted in, the bracket name order. So it'll be SO1, SO2, SO3, or whatever, class you're working with. And then the rounds are first. So you got to go find, at the top will be SO1 round one, but then you got to go through all the round one bout sheets to get to round two. So it's a little bit of sorting out the paper and getting it put into the right folder. But in the end, you should have a 4-man bracket will have 6 bout sheets. Now, if you have a 3-man bracket, you'll only have 3 bout sheets. Okay? And it gets a little bit more tricky if you have a 5-man bracket. Those bout sheets are printed at the very end, round 4 and 5. And if you have a 5-man bracket, we need to wrestle that bracket first because those guys go 5 rounds. So they need to wrestle early, and then we'll wrestle in order of, the group numbers. And then at the end of the day, that 5-man bracket will still have some matches left, and we'll finish up those matches. So that'll work out just great. So I hope all that makes sense. I can't think of anything else for the bracketing team. Next, we're going to talk to the score table. Okay, scorekeepers, so you should be getting a stack of folders brought to you by the bracketing team. One folder looks like this, and you should have 10, 12, 13. Depends on how many wrestlers we have at the tournament and how we distribute them across the mats. But if you're at a mat, you should have a stack of folders brought out to you. You can check that those folders are in the correct order, right? So, let's say you're at mat 8, which is usually got a mix of novice and seniors. You would want the lowest novice number first, maybe a novice 12, and it might go novice 13, 14, 15, 16, even 17. And then we might go to seniors, which would be S01, 02, 03, like that. They should all be in order, right? Now, let's say you have an S, which last year we had I think it was senior bracket number S04 had a 5-man. We need that 5-man put on top and wrestle a 5-man bracket first. So you can talk to the person that brings you the folders, ask them if there's any 5-mans. There's various ways to find out if you have a 5-man. Or you can look through every single bracket that you got in the stack, 10 or 12 brackets, and see if you got any 5-mans. But the bracketing team, if there was a 5-man, they should have put it on top. And you'll notice then that you'd have S04 first, and then you'd go to novice and say 12, if that's where it was starting on mat 8. It would go like that. Does that make sense? Hope so. And then in each folder, you should have a sheet that says what the group name is. And when we wrestle, the group that's actually wrestling should be on the bottom of your stand. You should have a stand on your table that you can clip these on so everybody knows who's wrestling. On the top of the stand is on deck. So it kind of goes top on deck, bottom wrestling, and just flows from top to bottom is the way that we want to standardize all the mats working the same way. Then in addition to this sheet, you should have a bracket, okay? And that bracket has, all your matches on one page. And, as people wrestle their matches, you can write in who the winner is, and then it becomes clear at a glance after you wrestle all 3 of your matches. It kind of can become more clear, who's first place, second place, third place, etc. It's nice to take the time to write on your bracket what's been going on. And then let's see. And then you should have bout sheets. So the number of matches that are on your bracket, if it's a 4-man, it's 6. If it's a 3-man, it's 3. If it's a 5-man, I'd have to think about it a little bit. I think it's 10 if it's a 5-man. You should have 5 rounds, 2 matches per round. Okay? So you have to have a bout sheet for each mat that's on your bracket. So your first step is to just look through your folders, make sure they look the way they're supposed to look. We've got assistants around to help you. If something doesn't look right, you can ask for help. I've got coaches assigned, all over the place. Just grab a Morton coach and explain to them what's going on. or what your question is. Next, make sure you wrestle your folders in order, right? And you wrestle one round at a time. So, each of these brackets has a round one. After those kids wrestle, they need to rest. So you put, so then you'll take that folder and move it to the bottom of your stack and wrestle the next folder. And then by the time you wrestle through, those kids that wrestled, will have had enough rest and they can wrestle again. That's important. And then I expect that you should have 3 people on your table. So one person should be responsible for keeping score. I would suggest that be the most experienced person at the table, okay? Because the score sheet is the official documentation, and that's who the official is going to work with. If there's any questions, if there's a challenge about what happened earlier in the match, it's the score sheet that is in the conversation. So it should be somebody that understands how, things work, and then, and is just pretty skillful at staying organized and writing things down. Then probably the second most experienced should be on the actual clock, okay? The thing people forget about the clock is to stop and start the timer on time, but also the score is kept on the clock. Now, the scorekeeper's sitting right next to the guy that's keeping the bout sheets right next to the guy running the clock. You guys can check with each other and make sure you got the same score. You should never have a different score. If you have a different score, you need to work that out amongst yourselves quickly. You can always get the referee involved. And then the third person is a runner. All right. So after we finish a bout, the runner is going to take this sheet to the head table. In the East Gym, mat 7 and 8, where the novices and seniors are expected to be wrestling, in the East Gym, you have a head table there. Should be Dave Ellie and Abby Ellie working that table, so just get your sheet over to them. In the West Gym, which is more crowded, we got 6 mats in the West Gym. We should have Coach Sheely and Coach Henderson and probably also Coach Gashaw. All 3 or at least one of them will be up on the head table. You got to hustle this sheet up so that they can get it entered into the computer. It's not in our system until it gets entered in the computer. So that third man is mostly responsible for running these sheets up to the head table as they get completed. All right. Now, scorekeeper. You should know, the wrestling scorekeeping rules: takedown 2, escape 1, reversal 2, near fall 2, near fall 3. All that stuff you need to be familiar with. If you're not, find somebody and get familiar quickly. But the top. So you should have the 2 wrestlers report to the table. Make sure that the names on this sheet are the same as the wrestlers reporting. I've seen it happen more than once that the wrong wrestler reports. We give him a color and he goes out on the mat, and then it just kind of messes up not only the current bracket but the bracket that he came out of. And so make sure that the names are correct, and then you have to assign a color, and there's a spot here to write the color that you assign. So one guy's red, one guy's green. You write that color in there. And then there's space for round 1 of this match, and you write the scoring in. Whichever guy scores, you write how he scored. And then there's top, bottom, neutral, and defer. So, when there's the coin toss out there, the referee will tell you if the color defers, circle defer, and then the other color chooses a position, circle their position. Because sometimes that gets confusing. We have to go back and know that. All right? And then for, round 2 scoring is right there. And then again, there's the position choice. Circle the right position choice. And then round 3. So you just walk right through the page and fill it out. And there's even space here for a tiebreaker. Now I'll say at the end, you got the match summary right here. And in the match summary, you should circle how the match ended. Because when this sheet goes up to the head table and they're entering it in, sometimes, we don't want to go through all the scoring and try to figure it out for ourselves. So circle how the match ended. And then, some of this information doesn't matter so much. you know, we do have fall time. That's good to know. We'll enter that in. Match end time is not so important for us to know. If you want to fill it in, that's fine. But there's a signature block over here. You know, really, we only need the official to sign it. That's probably good enough. If the scorekeeper, probably scorer should sign it too. So scorer and official sign it. The wrestler is pretty optional. You can decide how you want to do it that day. So I think that's all the notes I have. You know, make sure you get those sheets up there promptly because we want to keep the scores up to date. You know, the bout sheets, when finished, need to be headed to the head table promptly. You know, most experienced guy on the score sheet, and make sure it's accurate. Second most experienced guy on the clock, and make sure you keep the time accurate. And I'm sure the official will help. If you do have any questions, just look around for one of the Morton Youth Wrestling coaches or on the head table. You can go up and ask them for help. Just ask around. We'll figure it out. Okay, that's a wrap on my first ever Morton Youth Wrestling Club tournament instructional video. I hope you found it interesting. Just give me some feedback. If you've got some constructive comments, I'd be happy to hear them. And I just want to say thank you one more time for volunteering to help, you know, us put on this tournament. It's a real challenging, you know, day to get through, but with lots of people helping and understanding what they're doing, it makes the day a lot more enjoyable and easy. So thanks for helping, thanks for participating, and looking forward to seeing you on January 8th, 2023, or fill in the date if you're looking at this video in a future year.